My first story was a romance, no surprise there. Hi romance besties, I'm Christa Tomlinson, indie published romance author of several romance novels. Welcome to my home here on YouTube, where I talk about the romance genre, post video quizzes for you to test your romance knowledge, and share my author journey through vlogs and video chats. If those topics sound like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below. I found out about AuthorTube a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I was looking for something on YouTube. I'm not sure, I can't remember what it is that I was looking for, but the channel for Alexa Dunn came up in one of my searches, and so I went to her channel and just kind of looked and see what she had, and she had a lot of really good videos that I liked, and then from there I looked and found a bunch of other videos by authors, and eventually I realized that those videos were called AuthorTube, and so that's how I found it. But I was looking for something unrelated, for something that I needed. It was probably something I was looking for, marketing or something like that. Just trying to get some ideas on YouTube, and that's how I found it. So completely by accident. I wasn't looking for it specifically, but I just kind of came across it on YouTube. The genres I write are romance, generally, and then more specifically, I write romance, and then even more specific than that, I'm currently writing a paranormal mafia series. So again, I always write romance. That's always going to be what I'm writing. Currently, again, I'm writing romance, but I kind of, it's not always paranormal for me. I don't really write contemporary anymore, although I did start off writing contemporary romance, but mostly right now I'm just kind of rotating between spec fic romance, so science fiction and fantasy, and right now I'm more on the paranormal side because I'm writing vampires. So those are the genres that I write. For tense, I always write in past tense, and I write third person, so third person past. I write in deep third person. I think I chose that because that's probably most books that I grew up reading were in that point of view. So that's what I just got used to reading. And so when I started writing, that's what came to me naturally. It never occurred to me to write in first person. I just wasn't used to it. I did try it just to make sure that that wasn't something that I wanted to maybe try for a few books, or just kind of, maybe even switch to if I liked it better. But I definitely prefer deep third person, past tense. All of my books are dual point of view. I write romance, and I think it feels good to me as both the author and the reader when I know what both characters are thinking. So there's been very few books where I've read where there haven't been dual point of views, and when I do come across them, it's like, wait, what is the other guy thinking? or whatever the pairing is. But I definitely prefer dual point of view because I like to see the thought process of both people. I want to know how the other person is falling in love with them, not just see it happening from the other character's point of view, but see them going through it as well. And then for age, I write adult. I don't write a young adult or middle grade or anything like that. I always write adult romances. So all my characters are going to be probably at least 25 and up. I am definitely a plotter. I love plotting. I have tried not to plot just to see if I could just kind of wing it and just see where the story leads me, and it did not work for me. I tried it a few times and it just ended with me in tears. So I always plot, and like I said, I like plotting. I enjoy the whole process of figuring out where the story is going to go and writing everything down, seeing that outline come together. The writing the first draft outline where it's just a messy, just writing my thought process down as it comes is my favorite part, and then putting it chapter by chapter is what I do next. And I enjoy that part as well. And then just, building who the characters are. And then once I start writing, then from there I can let it develop, and get a little bit meatier, a little bit more to the story. But I definitely prefer to plot first before I ever really start putting a bunch of words down, because I get lost without a plan. I I am self-published. My very first story that I had published was with a e-publisher, I guess is the correct term. I've kind of forgotten. With Siren Publishing, and that was Martini Seduction. It's no longer published with them. I did go ahead and get my rights back for that one, and I haven't republished it. Maybe one day soon I will. But yes, all of my books are self-published. I've been self-published since 2014 when I first published The Sergeant, and it has been a long process to figure out how to do everything, and finding cover artists and deciding to make my own covers eventually, and editors and beta readers and arcs and all that. It's a long process, and I'm constantly learning new things to go with it. New things I need to figure out, to keep up with the process, to keep up with the self-publishing world. But I enjoy it. So as much as it can stress me out sometimes, I do enjoy self-publishing. The type of videos that I plan to have on my channel, I plan to have two types. First, I would like to have videos where I just kind of talk about, my author journey, what it's like to self-publish my books, to talk about my books. And the reason why I want to do that is because I'm super small potatoes. I'm like, one little serving of mashed potatoes on your dish. So I'm not going to have the opportunity to kind of really get out there and go to conventions and things like that, and have a big platform where I can reach readers in any other way besides here online. And also it just makes it more accessible to lots of different readers, people who don't like to travel, who can't travel, who prefer not to go out in crowds right now. So things like that. This just gives me an opportunity to kind of talk about my books. And for readers, if they find one book and then they want to know more about it, or want to know more about my other books, and they can come to my channel and kind of see, what was the process for me to bring that book to life, and I want to do breakdowns of my books. So if you ever want to see an author review their books, I plan on doing that here on my channel. So that's one type of videos I plan to have. The other type are just discussing the romance genre. I have done a few of those already, and I do plan to do more where I just kind of discuss the different tropes and the different subgenres, kind of get into the history of romance, whether it's in the different covers or the way that it has evolved and the type of stories that we tell. I thought quizzes could be fun. Romance quizzes could be fun. So those are the two things that I plan to have on my channel. I don't really plan on doing anything as far as teaching, like, so teaching self-publishing or teaching craft of writing. That's really not my style, not my bag. Even though I am a former teacher, I'm really not interested in doing any kind of teaching. So for a long time, I wasn't sure if I could even consider myself an AuthorTuber, because AuthorTube seems to be that entire, group seems to be towards teaching the art, the craft of writing and the craft of self-publishing. And since that's not what I was planning to do, I wasn't sure if I fit into the AuthorTube category. But I think there's room for me to make a small little niche for myself there. I started writing, like most writers, in elementary school. So it was late in elementary school, either 5th or 6th grade, is when I first started, of course, before then I wrote my little stories, for, class and things like that. But the first story that I wrote where I envisioned it as a book was late 5th grade or 6th grade, somewhere along those lines. But that was the first thing that I really tried to bring together as a book. It was never finished, but that was when I really started trying to become a writer. It was late in elementary school. My first story was a romance, no surprise there. That was it was a story that I wrote in middle school, seventh grade for sure, because we were on the lower level. So yeah, 7th grade was when I wrote that story. Again, it was not finished, so I didn't have the writing stamina to know how to finish an entire novel at that point. But it was a romance, and since at that time I was super into the Native American romances, Plains Indian romances, obviously that's not something that I read now, but back then that was something that I was really into, and I loved. That was my favorite subgenre of romances to read. So of course, since that heavily influenced me, that was what I tried to write. So Constance O'Banion's romance that she has. I tried to kind of emulate that and tried to write as it was pretty much that, almost that exact same storyline. I just kind of swapped some of the story points around. Like, instead of the heroine having a little brother, she had a little sister, but basically it was almost the exact same story. But that was my first attempt at writing a wagon train romance from the Western United States. My author inspirations are probably similar to a lot of Gen X authors who, like myself, who came up reading romance. So Johanna Lindsey is my big one, my favorite. Virginia Henley, Julie Garwood, all of those authors were authors that I grew up reading, and so I would love to be able to, even, just kind of a fraction of their what they were able to bring onto the page, their storytelling abilities and the careers that they managed to build for themselves, the longevity, the massive backlist that some of these authors have. Of course, also Beverly Jenkins, I mentioned before in the video that I did for my 2023 goals and vision board, that she was the first African-American romance author that I saw. I found her in Barnes & Noble when I was in college, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. So so definitely Miss Beverly Jenkins. And then J.R. Ward as well. I did not realize at the time how much she was influencing me, but her Black Dagger Brotherhood series, what really influenced me from that series is the teens. So basically, pretty much every series that I've started or plan to write, it always involves a team of characters, the band of brothers trope. I really love that, and that comes from the that comes from the J.R. Ward Black Dagger Brotherhood series. So that really inspired me there. Yes, I do schedule my writing time. It's pretty much the same time every day. I prefer to do it first because if I do other things, then those other things just expand until now I'm tired and ready to go to bed, and there's no writing time left because writing is hard, and I will find any way to get around having to do it. So I definitely prefer to do it first in the morning. I normally get up and write a little bit, and then take my dogs for a walk or let them out into the yard, depending on the weather. And then after that, I sit down and write for a few more hours. And then after that, once my brain is just done with writing for the day, then after that, I'll try and do my other task. But definitely I try to schedule to have my writing be the first thing that I do for the day. I write both by computer and by hand. So it's flips back and forth. So basically, when I do that first, rough outline, that's all by hand. And then the next one is by hand as well, where I'm putting, everything down by chapter. And then I go ahead and I switch to computer, and I just do a really rough, fast draft where I just get my thoughts down for each chapter, and I go through and organize them, and then I print them out, and then from there I go ahead and switch back to writing by hand, because it feels easier to me to work on that second draft where I can be in the paper and see everything laid out without having to flip screens back and forth. I can see, or having to scroll. I can see everything, see a bigger picture of the main script all at once, and it's easier to write and let the thoughts come to me at that point. Since the second draft tends to be harder, it's easier to let those words come to me by hand instead of having to type, because when I'm typing, it's much easier for me to feel like, oh, let me stop and think and erase and delete and edit. Whereas by hand, I'm not going to do that because it's just all coming out of me on ink, and I'm not getting ready to scratch stuff out and try to rethink and go back. I tend to not do that when I'm writing by hand. So then, of course, I have to take that I've written by hand and go ahead and put that into the computer. And it just kind of goes back and forth doing that until I'm complete. So I do spend a lot of money on paper and computer ink, unfortunately. But that's the process that works for me. So that's what I like to stick with. So I'm looking for a couple of things here on YouTube or on AuthorTube. I'm looking for a platform to share my work and share discussion of my work. with readers. I'm looking for a place to discuss the romance genre with people who love romance or who like to learn about romance. So I'm looking for that, and then I'm looking for also just a community of writers. Writing can definitely be a lonely job because it's just you and your notebook or your keyboard. It's not really a team effort or a team sport most of the time. And so, it would just be nice just to have, a few people that I could chat with and see what they're doing. Oh, I see that you're doing this. Oh, I'm doing this. And just kind of, just build a small little community. I'm never going to be a person who loves to, I'm an introvert. So I'm never going to be a person who likes to have, big crowds of people around me. That's totally a drain on my energy force. So just small groups where I can kind of get to know people and just, again, share my work with readers who are looking to learn more about it, and to share the romance genre, the things that I love about it and that I've learned about it over the years, to share that with readers. That's what I'm looking for here on AuthorTube. Thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it a bunch if you click like. That will let YouTube know to show this video to people who share your interests and make sure my future videos show up in your feed. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting me and helping my channel grow. I'll see you next time. Please take care of yourself, read good books, and remember, stay in romance. If those topics sound like something you'd be interested in, please I was so close.